My son, a young history hunter, enjoys doing a lot of research, looking for World War II history and World War II locations. And during one of his sessions, he just suddenly found an image that he said, "Daddy, this looks interesting." So we dug into it and we found something pretty special. And we wanted to share that story with you here today. So why don't you join us? And let's go out and find the past together right now. This is, by the way, on our Lost Documents tour. It's all about researching, finding World War II history and sharing it all with you guys. And today's story, well, it's pretty special because it's just about one single structure. But that structure meant something. It was a strategically important position. And the feature that was already here when the Germans came, that was very important. First of all, because it's on high ground, and then secondly of all, there are two deers there. Secondly, because the Germans knew the potential of this feature and the location. The Germans saw the potential of this position very, very early. So in July in 1940, they rolled up here with a truck, and out came 10 German soldiers. And they said, now this feature belongs to us. Up in the terrain here, next to the feature, there are still signs of that German activity that took place here. There are some trenches running around in the terrain. You can definitely see that there are some machine gun positions, some guard positions. But why? Why would they be here? It's just a hilly top in the middle of nowhere. Well, that's exactly what it was. It was in the middle of nowhere, but it had one very, very important feature, and that is that it's one of the highest vantage points in the area. And what could be more valuable than that? Well, the Germans very quickly realized that, as I said, they need this place. They met here with these guys, and that was the beginning of what their plans was here. In addition to what I'm going to show you very soon now, the Germans planned a huge coastal artillery location here. And also they wanted to install one of their FUMOS radars. Yes, then you get a more deeper understanding of why the Germans wanted this place. And right here we see this little area here. That is where one of the first German wooden barracks were put up. It's not there anymore. Everything has been removed. But there's one thing here that will never be removed, and that is the feature that was here when the Germans came. So why don't we go and see what that is? In the middle of the frame here, you can actually see the feature. It's that very tall structure on the top of the hill here, and that was here when the Germans came. But they were not satisfied by letting it be just as it is. It was. They started work on it right away. But let's go a bit further up there and we'll see exactly what that is. That is what the Germans came for. That's a lighthouse very near to the coast here on the Atlantic Wall. And that meant not only did the Germans have highest ground, the highest point of ground here, but with that lighthouse they had the potential to so much more, because this place here overlooked the whole ocean in a manner that no other place here could ever do for the Germans. About 10 German soldiers were situated here. They quickly set themselves the target to be inside the buildings and have a guard position here. But the problem was that the locals here, they were not happy for this. So there was quickly a lot of tension building between the German occupants coming in and the locals. And that resulted in a lot of complaints from the local authorities to the Germans. But basically the Germans just said, all right, we'll consider this, consider that, but they just overruled everything and they started to develop their plans, because up here there was supposed to be a lot of things happening, and later a plan for more than 150 crew members was set up, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. But first, let's go to the other side and check it out from over there. Wherever the Germans established some kind of significant infrastructure, they also started very quickly to understand they needed to take care of their crews up here. So we're going to see a feature that's been built in to do that. But that was just a very, very small beginning of what was to take place here. But the lighthouse was very important, because for the Germans it meant that they could actually do something here and have full control of the lower land and the ocean out there behind us. I'm going to take you around to the other side so you can see more of the lighthouse, but I'm going to show you a little detail here that shows you that the Germans started their work right away. You can see out here is the ocean. This is how the lighthouse used to look. See, there's a steel guard kind of thing around there, so you can see through. The Germans put up their binoculars and all of that, and they made a concrete wall around it to protect the crews that was doing their duty on top of this lighthouse. And that was a very, very, very windy place, I can promise you, just as windy as it is today. But you can see this is what it used to look like, with an iron fence around, open, because it was not supposed to be people up there. The Germans needed to have guard positions up there, and they had rangefinders and all of that in the beginning, just very simple tools. And then they casted this cement thing around. So when we see the lighthouse, you will see it like this, but then you can remember that the Germans actually did all of that. Also, we're going to check out a little details about how serious the Germans were to protect this place, and we're also going to see that there's actually a bunker here that we can visit, which is very interesting. That is the lighthouse today and what it used to look like before the Germans came. You can see there's this steel barrier around there. I'm going to see if I can zoom you up there. It's so windy, but I'm trying to do my best here, guys. You can see the steel guardrail, or the rail up there. That is definitely like it used to be before the Germans came. And then the Germans put the concrete around it to have their position and make the crews safe for air raids and attacks from maybe aircraft coming in and shooting at the tower. Just after a few months, the Germans deployed more than 40 soldiers here. So they were kind of running out of space, so they created that barrack you saw. And also the family that used to live here was forced out. So they started to think, okay, we have to protect this place because we're going to do some heavy duty investments here. And the first thing they did was to actually put more than, let me think here, they built 7 holes or made 7 holes in the side of the walls here. And they put in more than 750 kilos of explosives. I'm not 100% sure where exactly these holes were placed. Could have been on the inside, on the outside. Nevertheless, they put 750 kilos of explosives into the structure, and that was to have the opportunity to blast this thing if it turned out that they had to abandon it. So it's a precautionary measure, but just imagine going up and down into that thing, knowing there's 750 kilos of explosives in there. That must have been pretty scary, if you ask me. And then the Germans started to get very serious here. I just want to show you a couple of details. First, they put up a huge barbed wire fence system around the whole area. There is the lighthouse. I'm going to show you a couple of features here afterwards. But then they said, well, we know for sure that this place is going to also be an artillery position with several artillery guns. And in the end, they planned for 150 crew up here, and structures and more bunkers and barracks. Actually, that never happened, but nevertheless, they got really serious. And then you can see this is the minefields. The lighthouse is here. There's a bunker here. We're going to check that out. And they put 2,600 mines around here. There's a road that comes in here. The only way you can get into the area through the minefield is here. There used to be a guard position with a machine gun here. They came through here, went to the lighthouse, and then the only little passage between the minefield was here. But also here they had flamethrowers, so they could cut you out from this whole area. So if anyone tried to invade from the ocean line, guess what? There would be thousands of mines around. And even today, I spoke to a local here, they can find details like mine detonators and stuff just laying around in the terrain, because when they took them away, the Germans had to do that themselves. So in August 1945, that was removed, and there's one mine that is not accounted for, still out there maybe. And the Germans or the locals have actually found pieces of different structures and features in the ground here earlier when they're digging. So now you can see they really started to understand that this place, we have to take care of it. Here they were planning on the artillery position, so they put the minefield all the way around here to make ready for that. But now we're going to see a detail they built to make sure that the crews could stay safe here. If you see on the map there, you can see it says tunnel. Well, that tunnel is basically just here. And why a tunnel? Well, the Germans needed to get the crews back and forth from the tunnel and into the lighthouse. So that is basically a way for the Germans to get from the lighthouse through this area here and then down to the bunker, which is just about there. One very special detail is actual that when they dug the tunnel, they touched the foundation of the lighthouse. And if you look very, very careful, you can actually see that it's tilted like 10 degrees that side. Can you see that? It is actually visible, but you really have to know it and study it. So because of they came in here, they dug under the foundation of the lighthouse and then it tilted a little bit. So they did a lot of research about that after the war, even in modern times, to figure out if they need to do something special to prevent the tower from going more over to the side. But you can most definitely see it, that it's tilting over to this side as a result of that. So tunnel came in here, somewhere around there, and that is the Riggelbau they first made. As I said, everywhere around here is mines and barbed wire fencing system, and the artillery positions were planned to be over there. So this is the very first and only bunker they actually built here. And why did it become the only one? That's because the evaluation and the importance of this area was completely different later in the wartime. So the Germans actually abandoned those plans. But I think we should go down because there are a couple of cool features in there, so you can check them out. So it's pretty fascinating to think that Franz and Wilhelm and Reinhard and Paul, whoever these guys were, they were placed here. First they built this incredibly heavy-duty Riggelbau 621 this year. It's a Mannschaftbunker. It's a bunker for crew members, and the rest here is covered. So the other exit opening is over there. But the tunnel sort of came from the corner of the bunker there and then into the terrain over to the lighthouse. But inside the bunker here, you will see that it's basically like most other type of 621s. It has one opening and entrance here. You can see they never finished to put in the doors because these castings, they are for the doors, but they were never set in here. So you can know for sure there's a little bit water on the floor. So I'm going to go over here. There we are. This is the second opening, and very often this is what it looks like. It's been shot with brakes, and that's typical for this region. But what you have here is a very nice set of the inner doors. You can see very, very good condition actually. and there would be some rubber seals going around. This is the square door frame. There are also these in the round door frame, and I'm wondering, do they move? Oh yes, they move. Not this one, but this one. And you can see it's divided into two parts. The lower part can be shot first, then the upper part is then released separately. And that is because it's a way to make sure that you can actually open the door. So if there would be rubble or crap lying on the floor here, then you can open the top part of the door and still be able to exit the bunker. So it took me a long time to understand exactly why. And these doors are so heavy duty, but if you see a door like that, this one is put on. First you shot this one and then this one. You now know why that is so. And these are very heavy duty. And you can see here is the other shutter. And if you have a look up in the wall there, you can see actually camo pattern, and you can see the letter S. S is for ständige, meaning heavy duty built with specific wall thickness, roof thickness, and all of that. So you have, if it's an L, then it's a light type. S, ständige, you could say super heavy duty. So here we are inside the bunker, and right away there are actually, this is sort of like a little display they put up here, bunk beds. Not exactly what the Germans had here, but in a way you get a feeling of what it would be to be a soldier stationed here. What I'm going to show you now is something that you always hope to see in a bunker, and that is a bunker oven, a full, complete bunker oven. And that is not something that you see every day. This is more like very, very rare. I have come across bunkers earlier in my career as a history hunter, and these are just standing there, but they have been removed so quickly the last 15 years that you won't believe it. But these, you can see here, that's the producer right there. And there would be a little instruction on the side here with a little aluminium tag telling how to operate this thing. And basically, it's you use coal. Oh, it's stuck. But you open up here, pull out that, you pour in coal, and you light it, and it will burn for days after days. And you can also, as I said, there's the producer. And you can also heat things on the top and prepare a meal. And you can see also that the ventilation takes out the fumes there. Right there is also something that I told you about thousands of times. The manual hand-cranked air pumps. So what happens is there is a huge crank handle here. And you can turn this, and it takes a lot of power. And you will have this little ball in here that will go up and down, and that ball will tell you if you're cranking correctly to get enough air through this thing here. That's like an air meter measuring how much air you're pulling in. And then you have this filter with a lot of, I'm not sure what it's called, active coal pieces or whatever, but it's actually in there, and that's the pre-filter. And some of these can still be turned, like this thing here, and if you pay attention to that, you can still see the German instruction of that. Up here, there's actually a producer date, and the Waffenamt Eagle would be there. So this one is made in 1943, still works perfectly. It has a very smooth operating kind of function there. And then the original filter. Just a very quick one here, so you can see who you are. Before we left, a lot of you helped us out with some donation on the Super Thanks feature. And guess what? You are now historical. And we thank you, each and every one of you, for being so kind to let me and Eagle Eyes go out and find and share great history with you. So we appreciate you. each and every one of you, and I promised I'll bring this along on each of the exploits we do, and I do keep my promise. A tiny little footnote regarding the bunker oven. The bunker, this cast iron stove was very efficient, but the strange thing is that due to the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning, the troops were not allowed to run it during the night. And that is pretty special, ironic, because wouldn't you freeze during the night? But what they did, they really fired up this thing so bad before they went to bed, and then the heat would stay in for like at least to around 3 or 4 in the morning, and very often the troops would rise at 5 or half 5, and then they crank it up again. But just imagine going to bed with 15 minus and a blizzard outside. It's really, really hot. Just imagine how cold that would be to kind of wake up in the morning in this extremely cold environment inside this bunker. Believe me, that is just one amazing location on the Lost Document Store. And if you want to help us out to reach more interesting World War II locations, we have this little super thanks feature here. Basically, your opportunity to help us out to just get some gas into the fuel tank of that camper van, go out and find and share even more interesting things with all of you. Because the Lost Document Store, we've got more than 20 stories and explores that we want to share with you. And it is, as I said earlier, it is thanks to each and every one of you who watch, subscribe, comment. Absolutely thank you to each and every one of you fantastic Patreon team members. Thank you to all of you who donate on the PayPal thing. There are links to our PayPal and Patreon support page in the video description here where it says more. You can just click that, get information you need, and we do give back to our supporters for sure. You can watch the supporter videos in the beginning of each month, and you can see we actually pass on to you some great World War II artifacts. I'm just currently working on another very special explore that we're going to share with you in a little mini series of 2 parts. It's a German World War II Luftwaffe airfield that is kind of just lost in time, and some of the features that we're going to share with you there are just absolutely amazing. All right, I'll continue to do some editing here. I have more plans for more tours as well. That's going to come up later. In the meantime, just want to say to each and every one of you, thank you for being here. Stay safe, keep smiling, and before you know it, you will see us out there sharing even more greater history. Bye-bye.